It started with a vision, didn't it? Every great building, every soaring skyscraper that pierced the Chicago sky, every quiet park bench nestled amidst the concrete, they all began as a whisper in someone's mind, a flicker of an idea. For me, David, an architect nearing his 40s, those whispers were my lifeblood. I saw the city not just as steel and glass, but as a living canvas, a community waiting to be shaped, to be nurtured. My designs weren't just blueprints. They were declarations of belief in human connection, in sustainable beauty, in spaces that lifted the spirit. I was known for my idealism, for pouring my very soul into projects that aimed to be more than just profitable. I wanted to build legacies, not just structures. And for a long time, it felt like the world was finally catching up to that vision. Then Serena walked into my life, and suddenly, the canvas felt even grander, the future infinitely brighter. She was everything I thought I wanted, everything I believed I deserved. Serena, an influential real estate developer, with eyes that sparkled with ambition and a smile that could disarm a corporate shark, seemed to understand me in a way no one else ever had. Or so I thought. We met at an industry gala, a place I usually found stifling, but her presence cut through the noise. She approached me, not with the usual flattery about my firm's success, but with a keen, insightful critique of a recent community center I designed. She saw the soul in it. She said, the inherent goodness, but also, she pointed out, the missed opportunities for broader impact. Her words, delivered with a sophisticated ease, weren't dismissive. They were challenging, exciting. It felt like she saw the potential in me, a potential even I hadn't fully grasped. We fell into a whirlwind romance. Dinner conversations that stretched into the early hours, debates about urban planning that thrilled me, weekend escapes where we talked about our dreams, our futures. She was smart, driven, and seemingly admired my passion. She'd listen intently as I sketched out ideas for sustainable housing or green public spaces, her hand resting lightly on my arm, her gaze unwavering. David, she'd say, your vision is magnificent, truly. But sometimes, you need a realist in your corner. Someone to ground those beautiful dreams in the concrete reality of budgets and timelines. And I thought, yes, that's exactly what I need. A partner. A complement. I felt like I had found my other half, the one who would help me build my impossible dreams into tangible reality. We got engaged 6 months later, amidst the twinkling lights of Millennium Park, the promise of forever hanging in the crisp Chicago air. I was walking on air, brimming with a hope so vast it felt almost terrifying. My career was flourishing, my personal life was perfect. I truly believed I had it all. The first whispers of something being off were so subtle I dismissed them as growing pains. Serena would offer suggestions on my designs, always framed as helpful insights from her extensive experience. David, she'd say gently, this park designed for the Southside community. It's so thoughtful, so beautiful. But are those materials truly durable enough for a high-traffic area? And the cost for that artisanal playground equipment? Perhaps we could source something more practical, more scalable? I'd find myself nodding, accepting her points as valid, even when a small, insistent voice in the back of my head argued for the integrity of my original choices. She was just being pragmatic, I reasoned. She understood the business side better than I did. She was protecting my vision, making it achievable. My best friend, Sam, a financial advisor I'd known since college, started appearing more frequently in these discussions. Sam was always the grounded one, the numbers guy to my artistic temperament. He'd often join us for dinner, and the conversation would inevitably drift to my projects. Serena would float a concern, and Sam would invariably chime in, reinforcing her point with cold, hard figures. David, he'd say, looking up from his phone, a thoughtful frown on his face, Serena has a point. Your heart's always in the right place, but good intentions don't pay the bills. Profit margins, long-term viability, shareholder value. These are the realities. He'd clap me on the shoulder, a gesture I'd always taken as fraternal encouragement. But now, looking back, it felt like a pat on the head for a child who didn't quite grasp the adult world. They were a united front, a seamless blend of practical wisdom and financial acumen. And I, caught in the glow of my impending marriage and the comfort of my closest friendship, began to internalize their words. My designs started to feel overly ambitious, even to me. Too idealistic. Too soft. The compromises began to pile up, like small stones slowly filling a jar. A cheaper facade here, a less sustainable material there, a public space scaled down to allow for more retail units. Each time, a little piece of me chipped away. The joy, the intense satisfaction I felt in creating something truly meaningful began to dull. I still sketched, I still drafted, but the vibrant colors of my early visions started to fade into grays and muted tones. Serena started bringing me opportunities to collaborate on her firm's projects, presenting them as a chance to merge our professional lives, to build an empire together. Think of it, David, she'd murmur, tracing the lines of my collarbone. Our names synonymous with reshaping Chicago. Imagine the impact. I was flattered, eager to please her, and saw it as a sign of our deepening connection. But these collaborations always seemed to benefit her firm disproportionately. Contracts would arrive, dense with legalese, and Sam would advise me to sign them, assuring me they were standard industry practice or mutually beneficial long-term. He'd point out clauses that, on paper, seemed to protect my interests, but in practice, always had a loophole or an asterisk that somehow favored Serena's bottom line. I remember a particular housing development project. My original proposal included generous green spaces, community gardens, and solar panels for all units. Serena and Sam whittled it down relentlessly. The green spaces became glorified sidewalks, the gardens vanished, and the solar panels were relegated to a future phase, pending market performance. I protested, my voice weak, my arguments feeling flimsy against their combined weight. Serena would just smile, her hand on my arm, saying, "David, darling, sometimes you have to make sacrifices for the greater good. We need to secure the funding first. Then, then we can bring back all your beautiful ideas." And Sam would add, "It's about securing the foothold, David. Once you're in, you can push for more. You can't change the world if you're out in the cold." I felt a growing sense of unease, a knot in my stomach that tightened with each concession. But I told myself they were right. They were the pragmatists. I was the dreamer, easily swayed by sentiment. My passion, once a source of strength, was slowly being reframed as a weakness. I started to feel like I was losing my mind, questioning everything I believed in, every principle I'd built my career on. Was I truly so naive? Was my idealism nothing more than a childish fantasy in the brutal world of real estate? The most insidious part was the gaslighting. It wasn't overt accusations. It was a slow, subtle erosion of my self-worth, my professional competence. I was working on a project that was deeply personal to me, a mixed-use cultural hub for a historically underserved neighborhood, a place where art, commerce, and community could truly intertwine. It was my passion project, a distillation of everything I believed in. I poured every ounce of my architectural soul into it. Serena, initially praising my ambition, slowly began to pick it apart. "David, are you sure those projections for local businesses are realistic? The community might not have the disposable income for such artisanal shops. And the performance space. It's beautiful, truly, but the upkeep alone would bankrupt them." She'd sigh, a small, exasperated sound that made my chest constrict. And Sam, with his omnipresent spreadsheets, would echo her concerns. "The cost per square foot, David, it's just not aligning with projected revenue streams. You're going to price out the very people you want to help." I remember one night, standing in my studio, looking at the detailed models, the vibrant renderings, feeling a tremor run through my hands. Serena had just left after a particularly demoralizing discussion about the project's viability. She had made me feel like an irresponsible child, reckless with other people's money and hopes. I looked at my work, the work I once felt so proud of, and for the first time, I saw it through her eyes. Impractical, overly expensive, destined to fail. My own certainty had vanished, replaced by a cold, creeping dread. I felt disoriented, as if the ground beneath my feet had shifted. I started pacing, running my hands through my hair, a frantic energy building inside me. Was I going crazy? Was I truly so out of touch with reality? My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat against the silence of the studio. I felt an overwhelming urge to rip it all down, to erase every trace of my idealism. The joy in my work, once my guiding star, had become a source of profound anxiety. My identity, once so firmly rooted in my vision, felt like it was dissolving into thin air. The breaking point arrived with a brutal, public clarity that shattered the carefully constructed illusion of my life. It was the city council meeting, the culmination of years of work, of compromises, of quiet battles within myself. My cultural hub project was finally up for review, the project that still, deep down, held the last vestiges of my true architectural spirit, however diluted. I had prepared for weeks, refining my presentation, trying to balance my vision with the practicalities Serena and Sam had drilled into me. My palms were sweating as I walked to the podium, the bright lights of the council chambers blinding me slightly. I started to speak, my voice wavering at first, then gaining strength as I articulated my passion for the community, for the transformative power of well-designed spaces. I spoke of inclusivity, of sustainable growth, of giving a voice to the voiceless. I was halfway through my presentation, feeling a flicker of my old confidence return, when Serena stood up from her seat in the front row, an impeccably dressed, formidable figure. She smiled, a dazzling, confident smile directed at the council members, not at me. Council members, she began, her voice smooth and authoritative. I appreciate David's passion, truly. His heart is always in the right place. However, and that word hung in the air like a guillotine blade. While his vision is undeniably grand, my firm, in consultation with David's financial advisor, Sam, has developed a more cost-effective alternative that addresses the core needs of the community while ensuring long-term financial viability. My blood ran cold. The air left my lungs. My vision blurred. A more cost-effective alternative? My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst through my chest. I looked at her, then at Sam, who sat beside her, already setting up a projector. He wouldn't meet my eyes. The council members shifted in their seats, intrigued. Serena clicked a remote, and my renderings vanished from the screen, replaced by sleek, generic images, a design I had never seen before. A design that looked suspiciously like the soulless, profit-driven structures I had always fought against. This was not my project. This was a betrayal so profound, so public, it stole my breath. She continued, presenting her version with a practiced ease, dissecting my original plans, pointing out their flaws, their financial risks, their unnecessary expenditures. Each word was a dagger. Then, Sam took the podium, his face grim, his posture authoritative. He began to rattle off figures, projections, charts that painted my original design as an extravagant folly, a reckless waste of taxpayer money. His numbers were precise, convincing, utterly damning. He spoke of market correction, of optimizing assets, of realistic returns. The room buzzed with whispers. My project, my vision, my professional reputation crumbled before my eyes, destroyed by the two people I had trusted most in the world. I stood there, utterly paralyzed, the microphone still in my hand, my voice gone, my soul hollowed out. The world spun. I felt a wave of nausea, a dizzying sense of absolute unreality. This wasn't happening. It couldn't be. But it was. I don't remember leaving the council chambers. I only remember the cold bite of the Chicago air on my face, the searing shame that burned through me, hotter than any fever. The whispers followed me, I imagined, like vultures circling. I stumbled home, the city lights blurring through a film of unshed tears. My firm, the firm I had poured my life into, was now a public joke. My name, once synonymous with integrity, was mud. I felt professionally and personally eviscerated. The engagement ring on my finger suddenly felt like a lead weight, a shackle. The days that followed were a blur of numb despair. I stayed in my apartment, the one Serena and I shared, staring at the walls, unable to eat, unable to sleep, unable to even think straight. The phone rang constantly, but I couldn't answer. Emails piled up, filled with terse cancellations, veiled criticisms, and the final, crushing news. My firm, once thriving, was collapsing under the weight of the public scandal and lost contracts. It wasn't just my project they had sabotaged, it was everything. My identity as an architect, as a visionary, as a man of principle, lay in ruins. Then, slowly, excruciatingly, the fog began to lift. The haze of confusion and self-doubt that Serena had woven around me began to dissipate. As I replayed the events of that night and the months leading up to it, the pieces clicked into place with a horrifying clarity. The advice, the suggestions, the contracts Sam had urged me to sign, the constant undermining of my confidence, the relentless chipping away at my resolve, it was all a meticulously planned campaign. They hadn't been trying to help me. They had been systematically dismantling me, clearing the path for their own agenda, leveraging my name and my reputation for their own profit. They had used my idealism against me, twisting my dreams into tools for their greed. The gaslighting had been so complete that I had doubted my own sanity, my own judgment, my own fundamental values. The betrayal wasn't just professional. It was a profound, personal violation. Anger, a cold, pure rage, began to simmer beneath the surface of my grief. But beneath the anger, a different emotion flickered: liberation. The weight of their expectations, the pressure to conform, the constant self-doubt, it was gone. Erased. I had lost everything, but in losing everything, I had found myself again. I saw my architectural values clearly for the first time in a long time, untainted by their cynical influence. I wasn't wrong. They were. My vision wasn't naive. It was true. One afternoon, I forced myself to get out. I wandered aimlessly through the city, eventually finding myself in a part of town I hadn't visited in years, a struggling neighborhood I had once dreamed of revitalizing. I saw the dilapidated buildings, the broken playgrounds, but I also saw the resilience of the people, the vibrant street art, the small community gardens tended with fierce pride. I stopped by a small, independent community center, the kind of place I used to design for. Inside, a group of local residents were holding a meeting, discussing plans for a neighborhood cleanup, their voices filled with hope and determination despite their limited resources. Listening to them, something ignited within me, a spark that had long been dormant. It was the same spark that had driven me to become an architect in the first place. I remembered why I built. Not for profit, not for praise, but for people. That night, I moved out of the apartment. I packed a single suitcase, leaving behind the ghost of our shared life, the broken fragments of my future with Serena. I left the engagement ring on the kitchen counter, a silent repudiation of the lie it represented. The severance was painful, cutting her and Sam out of my life completely. I blocked their numbers, ignored their messages, burned every bridge. It felt like tearing a limb away, but with each step away from them, a heavy weight lifted from my shoulders. The air tasted cleaner, sharper. I was raw, broken, but I was also, for the first time in a long time, free. The first few months were a struggle. I rented a tiny studio apartment, lived off my dwindling savings, and spent my days trying to figure out how to rebuild. My reputation was in tatters, clients had vanished, and the professional community, once admiring, now viewed me with a mixture of pity and disdain. The financial hardship was immense, but it was nothing compared to the emptiness in my heart. I started sketching again, not for clients, but for myself. Designs for imaginary community centers, public spaces that breathed, housing that uplifted. Slowly, painfully, the joy began to return. That community group I'd seen, the one trying to revitalize their neighborhood, I reached out to them, tentatively, offering my services pro bono. They were wary at first, knowing my public fall from grace, but they saw the genuine passion in my eyes. My first project was a small, derelict lot that they wanted to transform into a community garden and outdoor classroom. It was small, no grand scale, no soaring glass and steel, but it was honest. I poured every ounce of my rekindled passion into it, listening to the needs of the residents, incorporating their ideas, designing with my heart and hands, not with spreadsheets or profit margins. One project led to another: a renovation of the local youth center, then a design for affordable housing units that were genuinely sustainable and beautiful. My small, independent design studio became a haven, a place where integrity was paramount. It wasn't about the money, it was about the impact. I learned to work with tight budgets, to maximize every inch, to find innovative solutions that truly served the people who would use these spaces. My hands were often dirty, my hours long, but my soul felt clean, whole again. Word slowly spread, not through glossy magazines or corporate newsletters, but through the communities I served. People started to talk about David, the architect who built with his heart. My designs, once dismissed as idealistic, were now celebrated for their authenticity, their humanity. Peers, who had once shunned me, started reaching out, offering support, recognizing the quiet integrity of my new path. I wasn't the ambitious, high-flying architect of my past, chasing accolades and big projects. I was something more profound, a craftsman, a contributor, a builder of dreams for those who truly needed them. I never saw Serena or Sam again. I heard snippets of their continued success, their names still associated with grand, profitable, but ultimately soulless developments. There's no anger left in me for them, just a profound understanding of the darkness that drove them. They are a shadow of my past, a painful but invaluable lesson. I lost a fiancé, a best friend, a firm, and a reputation. But I gained something infinitely more precious, myself. My core values, my passion, my integrity. The scars remain, etched deep into my memory, a constant reminder of how easily one can lose oneself. In the pursuit of what looks like success. But they also serve as a testament to my resilience, to the quiet strength found in rebuilding from the ground up, brick by painful brick. I am an architect again, in the truest, most meaningful sense of the word. And this time, I'm building a legacy that is truly mine, one honest brick at a time.